Welcome to But For Real, a variety show podcast co-hosted by two therapists who also happen to be loudmouth feminists. I'm Valerie, your resident elder millennial child-free cat lady.
And I'm Emerson, your resident chronically online Gen Z brat. And on the show, we'll serve up a new episode every other week that will take you on a wild ride through the cultural zeitgeist, mental health, and beyond.
You'll definitely laugh and TBH sometimes maybe cry a little because this is a silly and serious show.
Buckle up, my friends, and let's get into today's episode.
Well, hello, listeners.
I'm so excited to be here.
Me too, in the virtual space together today.
You know, I think historically our virtual episodes have been maybe some of our most wildest ones because we're just... You know, we have a degree of separation, so we're like even more weird, which,
yes,
it's interesting.
Okay, kicking us off today, I would love to know, what is your sort of musical listening style? Do you listen to the full album? Is it chaos playlists through the genres? Is it a curated queue? Like what is your style and why?
Great question. I always love asking people this question because I'm curious. I am definitely a chaos listener. Like I'm pulling up, I'm thinking of a song, great. And then I want to listen to this Olivia Dean song 6 times. And then I'm going to go click on something else. And then I'm going to fart around in the Christmas genre. So like it is just pure maniacal chaos in the way that I listen to music. I prefer it that way. I often shock myself from like crying over like a Lizzie McAlpine song. And then all of a sudden I'm listening to 50 Cent. Like, sorry. God forbid a woman has reigned. That's all I can say.
I love it.
I feel like my mom definitely influenced this style of music for me. Music from both of my parents. I kind of got the like classic dad rock, Beatles, like Nirvana, like all of that side from my dad. And then me and my mom would hop in the car and she'd be like, should we listen to Shadow Crow, babes? And so then we're just like listening to Shania and Cheryl and like, just the girls. So I feel like I've always loved the music whiplash. But what about you? What's your style? Where did that come from?
Well, there's definitely the generational piece of like having grown up listening to physical albums, right, on CD. And that was just what we did. Now, there was the little shuffle button on, the stereo or the Walkman. So we could shuffle. And then, of course, it was probably aligned pretty closely with when I went to college, when the iPod and MP3 players and stuff were a thing. And I just remember how like revolutionary that was, like me walking through campus with my headphones in, just like, oh my God, my life has a soundtrack. Who am I?
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah. So of course, at that point, it, became a little more fluid. And I think there are still some of my just all-time favorite albums that I will love listening to kind of in their entirety. But now my bigger issue, as we both know, is that I just don't listen to music hardly ever. And so I'm really glad we're doing this episode because I need a swift kick in the arse to be listening to some tunes. So we're going to be reminding ourselves, and by ourselves, I mean me, why that's so important.
Yes. Yay. Love it. Now it's time for our first segment, Tea and Crumpets, where we tell you what we can't stop talking about this week. I am halfway through Virginia Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl. And so if you are unfamiliar with Virginia Giuffre, she is kind of a like whistleblower, one of the most like prominent survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And so just how poignant for this memoir to be out right now as we're dealing, release the fucking files and the real one, and fuck you, Jeffrey Epstein, and fuck you, Ghislaine Maxwell, and fuck you, Donald Trump. While I'm at it, fuck all of y'all. So just such her, you know, I am heartbroken to know that she has just suffered for so long, and reading this now, knowing that, you know, she has passed away, you know, she has died by suicide this year, which is just so shocking to me. I followed this story for a really long time, just because how could you not, you know, with how prevalent this man was and everything that has gone on here with the Prince Andrew of it all. So, I mean, she really is, I feel like I'm getting such like a more rounded picture of who she was, and everything that has influenced her life. And so, like I said, I'm only halfway through, but I think this will be my favorite memoir that I've read this year. And so just really, really recommend this book. But like, this is not a book that I am binging. I am notoriously like a 1.5er on an audiobook. And this is one that like, I teeter between 1 and 1.2, and I'm just like trying to take in how and when I'm listening to it. I mean, it's just really, really deep shit, and it's scary, you know, some parts to hear it. But I think her story is so important, and the women that have been impacted by this, their stories are so important. So if you are looking to learn more about that from the perspective of someone that actually really matters, please listen to her story. And just highly recommend, but with trigger warnings, of course.
Right. Yeah, we were doing our selection for our next year of books and my book club recently, and that one was floated. And I think it was just like, I don't know that we're all up for it. Some of us will probably read it. But yeah, I mean, just the intensity of that. But it's so important, right, to be hearing those stories.
Indeed.
Ooh. Yeah.
I know it. What's yours for this week? Maybe not as heavy as mine.
Well, if you have been in any of our supervision or team meetings for the last year and a half, you have heard that I will not shut up about Bill Doherty. Hashtag fangirl. And so he's a marriage family therapist and up in Minneapolis area, and just like legend in the field. And I did not discover his work until maybe the last year and a half. Been going through all kinds of trainings, got to work with him a little bit in person. He also founded Braver Angels, co-founded. And so I'm doing moderator training and got to see him in that context online last week. But finally, I'm reading, he doesn't have that many published books. I mean, he's been busy doing the fucking work, not time to like write all these, you know, books for lay people, but he's written a couple, and this one is called Take Back Your Marriage. And what I'm so obsessed with about it, and I feel like I'm probably still working on being able to articulate this well, but he talks about the problems with what he calls consumer marriage. Basically this like hyper individualistic, like, I want to, you know, I need to have all my needs met, and like confusing wants with needs, and just this like, you know, some of the problems with looking at marriage to fulfill all of the things that we sort of culturally look for it to fulfill these days. And just this culture of dissatisfaction. Like we are dissatisfied with the marital services that our spouse is providing. Like, and he's very careful to like, you know, be intentional about, this is not about like just glossing over abuse or like deep neglect of a marriage by one partner. Like there are some situations where like it's just untenable. But unfortunately, a lot of the divorces that he has seen, especially in like, you know, the last 10, 20 years, is a result of a marriage becoming untenable because they were in a consumer marriage. So I deeply resonate with that, because I sort of was, you know, falling prey to all of those messages, you know, 5-10 years ago, and then coming out of that cloud and just being like, fuck, I'm mad about these messages. So anyway, highly recommend. It's written for anyone, even if you're not married, if you're just considering being married, or you are interested in long-term committed partnership and the benefits of that. I think it's an excellent book.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Now it's time for Step Into My Office, where you get advice from your favorite professionally qualified, personally peculiar therapists.
So this listener writes in and says, "Hi, Em and Val. I've been in therapy for a few years now and feel like I would benefit from a different approach. I'm not musically talented at all and do not play any musical instruments, but my therapist brought up music therapy after I shared how much I enjoy listening to music. A lot of songs hit me really hard. They bring memories back, help me cry and process my emotions, and I really enjoy interpreting lyrics and talking about music with friends and family. I'm curious about music therapy, but I worry about not being musical enough as a person and think that music therapy maybe is just for creative types or kids or people in retirement homes. What do you think? Sincerely, Crying at the Beat Drop."
Ooh, crying at the beat drop.
Yeah, what do you think?
mean, I'm immediately like, do it, like just do it. But, and then of course I can expand on that. I think to the last part of like, is this just for creatives? Is this just for kids? Is it for old folks? Kind of heard. I feel like much like hypnosis, I do like a lot of myth busting, and I feel like music therapy or like the healing benefits of music is also something to bust a bit, where it's maybe only for like certain types of people. Bullshit. Like I think it's totally applicable for anyone. And of course, like we have these populations where it undoubtedly, we have research, like evidence-based research, that music therapy works with kids and with creative types and with folks in retirement homes. But I think it's so, it's a process that really anybody could engage with if you're interested, right? And listener, it sounds like you're definitely interested. I'm hearing like the memory processing and helping me tap into my emotions. I think probably one of the most important parts about music therapy, maybe if you are an adult, for me at least, is that like lyrical interpretation. Mm-hmm. What am I hearing from this story? How am I resonating with that? Whether that's something I've experienced that's being brought to light by someone else, and what is it like to universally share this experience and this song with other people and what it meant for me, or this song means something for me and it means something completely different to somebody else. And how did we get there? Right. Like, I think music is such a catalyst for interesting conversations, and is certainly something that you can explore therapeutically. I've been in therapy for a few years. I feel like I would benefit from a different approach. Boom. Like, listen to that and like go chase this experience. And we'll totally get into like how we find music therapy, right? Or how we start incorporating music into our lives in a more, intentional and therapeutic way. But I totally say, do it and see, what would be there. And I hear the part of being musical enough. Not all music therapy is you having to sit with the music therapist and like make music. That's one piece of that. And that piece like might not be for you, and that's okay, but it doesn't mean that the whole experience isn't for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm thinking about, and I know we'll delve more into this piece of it, but like, in terms of the accessibility of it and how, like, to me, it's like to intentionally weave that into your therapy process can look like a million different things. So it's like, you could go out and seek out a music therapist, or this listener, it sounds like their therapist was just sort of saying like, hey, would you be interested in this? Would you be interested in integrating this? And if that's the case, like maybe they can do that with their existing therapist, right? There might be some limitations on what they could do. But I feel like part of those myths about music therapy come from the place of like these more institutional type settings, like hospital programs, these assisted living programs where like they have perhaps the desire to bring in a dedicated music therapist to be working specifically with that modality. And that's just not the case for most people just out in the world in, outpatient therapy. So you could, seek that out as a specific modality. Or if you're therapist is down to clown and down to dig in with you, like you could probably get a lot out of that too.
Totally. Yeah. And resources and like more on that to come, right? Of finding, where do we find it? How do we incorporate? But listener, I mean, ask your therapist for some referrals or plug into Psychology Today and see like who's maybe offering something in their bios. Maybe they're not a board certified music therapist, but again, they incorporate some of that stuff and there's still value in there too. So good luck. Find your voice through music therapy. Why not?
And now it's time for the DSM. In our DSM, all varieties of dysfunction, spiraling, and meltdowns are welcome. In this segment, we break down complicated concepts and common misconceptions about mental health, well-being, and tell you what we really think.
Our topic, of course, today is all about music therapy as a modality, you know, our kind of experiences that we're going to be weaving in with music in a clinical and personal setting and why this is also important. So let's kind of, you know, always set off with some clarity and some definition of what even is music therapy. So the official definition from the American Music Therapy Association is the clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to accomplish individualized goals, of course, within a therapeutic relationship. So some of the differences that we can think of, again, in this realm of music therapy is legit quote, music therapy. So this is typically somebody that is a therapist. They are a credentialed music therapist, board certified. So board certified music therapist. So that is their own, much like all of us therapists, we all have our own wee little associations that we fall into. So this is one of the wee little umbrella benches. Yes, all of our letters. We love a letter. So you're having clinical goals. Again, like Val said, maybe this is more in like hospital settings. They're going to have someone that's a board certified music therapist. And then, of course, there are therapeutic uses of music, which is probably where Val and I hang out the most. You know, neither of us are board certified music therapists, but I'm prescribing a playlist or I'm prescribing a car cry, or I'm like, you want a revenge plot against someone, plot it out through music and don't hurt anybody. So we're making playlists or we're vibing or we're analyzing lyrics and talking about what that means for us. And then the other kind of layer to that are sound baths. So using singing bowls or utilizing different instruments for sound healing. I've been to a couple of sound baths where they're using different like chimes and different musical instruments and it sounds like rain. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. I'm like stimming and, you know, you can feel certain, elements of those instruments, which is really cool. And so different kind of adjacent experiences with this, a lot of like really bounded, rooted indigenous culture around sound baths, sound healing, shout out, you know, to the OGs and where that came from and how we use that now in and across Western medicine. So different, I also just wanted to throw down like the umbrella list of like interventions in quotations. So again, there's that kind of, you know, we're looking at a lot of like lyric analysis, doing some like, what is it like to do guided imagery with music and to like let a soundtrack kind of be there to enrich an experience. Songwriting can be a really, again, for the creative. And even if you feel like you're not a creative, being able to lean into songwriting, narrative therapy, you know, what is the story of my life? Doing some like improvisation can be really important. And then of course there's more of the other ends, again, what we could kind of see in like larger institutions. So like music supported motor training for like different neurodevelopmental disorders, and then receptive music listening. So like looking at, you know, just like what the music is like, who, and again, across different populations, what is it like to do that with kids? Teaching call and response, or, you know, we're again playing with different instruments. So what is that like? So this is just really the quick and skinny on probably what actually covers the breadth of music therapy. But yeah, I just wanted to like throw some ideas down and then give us like our clear definitions so we know where to start. So there's that part.
Lovely. So let's talk about how working with music in a therapeutic way can actually impact the brain and the body. Obviously, we know that while music can be real fun and entertainment, it's not only entertainment, right? It's sort of this like multi-sensory workout for your whole nervous system. So whether you're listening to music or making music in some way, your brain is lighting up in all these regions that are involved in emotion, relationships, sensation, memory, language, motor control. So we have rhythm, of course, which can be connected with our sense of stabilization for our nervous system arousal. So if we are, say, hyper aroused, our nervous system is jacked up. Connecting with rhythm can be a way that we stabilize that, syncing our breath and heartbeat. So that can be called entrainment. So cool. Then we have melody, which can activate our dopamine reward pathways, can support our motivation and mood. Oh, that feeling when you just hear that melody that just like sticks like an earworm and it's just like intoxicating. And then, of course, like you're saying, the lyrics that can help stimulate our language centers, giving us labels for our feelings when the words feel stuck. I mean, how many times have we listened to a song and like found a particular line that we're just like, yes, this is what I've been trying to say, and I didn't have the words for it. So both emotionally, psychologically, physiologically, there's a lot happening. Music is really this bridge between our inner experience, our outward expression, especially when maybe just talking about shit can feel overwhelming or we feel like we don't have the words for it. So obviously there's applications for this in trauma work. Music can give us a little bit of that safe distance and help us titrate into an experience. So maybe we're not ready to tell the details of our particular traumatic experience, or doing so would be sort of re-traumatizing, but maybe there's a song that really helps us connect with that experience and feel some of those feelings without having to talk about it in a re-traumatizing way. Mood disorders. So again, we can engage that reward circuit of dopamine. It supports the behavioral activation. I mean, how many times have we been like, I'm just like rotting on the couch and I know that I need to get up and do something and I know I would feel better if I did. But until I turn on that playlist, like I just feel that inertia is overpowering. So sometimes music can be the thing that's just like, whoop, here I am. And then, of course, with mood can also deepen our emotional processing. With anxiety, the predictable rhythmic patterns can help signal safety to the autonomic nervous system. How freaking cool. So that can really help us ground. And then, of course, like, we're not even getting into all the kind of nerdy sound healing stuff like the binaural beats and the particular frequencies and all of that can potentially impact your nervous system. And with that kind of stuff, like I always say, like, follow your own data, right? I think people can get really fixated on like, I need this at exactly 432 hertz because that's the frequency of universal healing or whatever. It's like, if 432 hertz is what works for you, great. There's a lot of it on the internet that you can find. But also if you connect with other things that help you feel that sense of oneness that are not 432 hertz, like it's no better or worse, right? Yeah. With depression, music can increase our engagement, our sense of connection, our sense of belonging. Again, we're supporting some of those pleasure pathways, and also we're connecting to meaning making. So it's just like kind of all of the things, all of the concepts that support well-being, you can find them within music.
Yeah. Isn't that so fucking cool? Like, I just like kind of want to geek out about this forever. So I wanted to throw down some additions. I'm neurodivergent. And so I was like, what's the T here with neurodiversity and communication support? And so for folks with autism or otherwise, chilling under the neurodivergent umbrella, music is awesome. It can offer structure and expression without relying solely on those verbal pathways, which a lot of folks really struggle with, trying to nail down that emotion, or again, trying to name my experience, and I'm having a really hard time on that. And so it can focus on the facilitation of alternate communication channels. So we're thinking about intonation and gestures and rhythm. And so it can provide also predictable sensory input that supports regulation, which is fantastic. I think the first thing that I recommend for, folks when they're overwhelmed, I'm like, what is it like to go find that song or that playlist or whatever it is? There are certain songs that I know that I put on, and I put them on a loop because I'm sensory seeking. I'm trying to understand my regulation and use that song to slow me down. And I like it. And it's that predictability, which feels good. And then, of course, just encourages more of that like reciprocal interaction through musical turn taking. So there's just so many elements, with neurodiversity, again, barely scratching the surface, but so important there. And then, of course, an extension on more medical and neurological applications. So there is tons and tons of research out there for stroke recovery. So having rhythmic auditory stimulation can significantly improve gait and fine motor functioning, which I thought was really cool. Speech rehab, there's research for melody-based interventions, which stimulate the Broca's area and support speech production. For dementia, music triggers autobiographical memory and supports orientation and emotional continuity, which just chokes me up all over the place because dementia is so challenging for folks and their families. And then chronic pain, helping redirect attention. It can help improve mood, increases perceived agency over pain, which is so important when you're dealing with chronic pain. I think of that from a hypnosis standpoint, where you take that on, and why that's so important to help alleviate some of that too. So again, just scratching the surface there, but there's such a robust opportunity for music to be here across all of that. And, any additions there for you, Valerie?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Safe and Sound protocol, which was created by Stephen Porges, who sort of originated the polyvagal theory. And, I always like to give the caveat that no theory is the one be all end all truth, right? Sure. So I know there's some controversy in the field about how completely factual this one theory is. But there's a lot of people have benefited from integrating polyvagal theory into their treatment. And so this particular piece of it, the Safe and Sound protocol, is an evidence-based listening therapy that uses this specially filtered music to calm the nervous system. It can improve emotional regulation, get us into that sweet spot social engagement system, communication, so it can help with trauma, anxiety, sensory processing differences. It's something that we haven't had. We had one clinician who practiced it before she came to us. So she did offer it while she was here. We don't have anyone now, but if we had clients who were interested in it, for sure that's something that we could offer here too. It's, you have to go through a specific little online training to be able to offer it as a therapist, but then your clients can access it. It's just very cool. I remember when I heard him talk, I think it was maybe 2023 EMDRIA conference, he did a keynote and talked about this and, shared some really interesting examples of particular teen who was just really had gone from normal teen to had this TBI and was having just all kinds of really intense acting out. Nothing was helping. None of the therapies were helping. And then they tried this as sort of a last resort, and it worked. So again, nothing is a magic bullet for everyone, but especially if you're feeling stuck in your trauma healing, if you're dealing with a really challenging neurological issue, check out Safe and Sound protocol.
The nervous system is so important, y'all. I can't stress it enough. Check in with that nervous system of yours. See what's going on.
Yep. Okay. So a little bit more of the history here. So we're
having a history.
Step into our history lesson. You mentioned, that the roots of this, a shocker, did not start with white psychologists.
Shocker, it didn't start with white men.
So, indigenous healing rituals have incorporated chanting and drumming and sounding across a variety of cultural lineages. One of the coolest trainings I did during COVID was it was Kelly Kirksey and Jamie Marich. Jamie Marich is like a big EMDR person, but she really tries to approach it from a decolonized lens. And so she worked with Dr. Kelly Kirksey, who's a Black woman, to bring in this like African-centered approach to bilateral stimulation. Because again, like there has been drumming for centuries, right? And like we're over here like, hey, it turns out bilateral stimulation can be helpful. And they're like, no shit.
They're like, no shit, honey.
Yes, yes. And then 18th and 19th centuries, physicians were like, we are noticing that when these people hear music, they be feeling better. Again, like,
imagine that
tracks. In post-World War I and World War II, music was played for veterans. Gosh, I'm trying to remember now. There's a whole organization that is like based in bands that would travel and visit. Like in Vietnam, they would visit people who were like actively in wartime. They would go and play shows for them. That was like a whole project. I imagine it still exists in some way. But anyway, so music is played for veterans. They experience significant improvement in their distressing symptoms. And so some early programs were created that then became legitimized into professional fields. In 1950, the National Association for Music Therapy was founded. 1998, AMTA was established through a merger. And then in the modern training, as you were mentioning, that MTBC, Music Therapist Board Certified Credential, which requires either a bachelor's or master's in music therapy and a clinical internship, which is often done in some of those settings we were talking about, hospitals or assisted living facilities, programs like that. What's interesting too is that it's one of those fields kind of like art therapy and dance movement, where these expressive arts therapies like went off and created their own sort of training programs and their own credentials and licensing bodies. And they overlap with mental health licensing bodies in that somebody might, like our former music therapist, Courtney, she was a music therapist, board certified before pursuing her then, clinical license and training. So some people do pursue both, but some people are just straight up music therapists. Like they cannot offer psychotherapy outside of that context, but they can offer music in a therapeutic way. Same with those other kinds of fields as well. But again, some people will pursue both. And as a therapist who is very suspicious of gatekeeping, but also I acknowledge the value of honoring true deep expertise and quality control and gatekeeping in that sense. I have mixed feelings about all these sort of like adjacent, licensure processes. Cause like we have a couple of therapists on our team right now, shout out Grayson and Claudia, who are both like very into music. They play, they, are deeply impacted by that. They have brought it into their clinical work in powerful ways. And they haven't gotten any specialized training in that. And I think exploring those options of, well, here's what it would look like if you want to, get a board cert. It's like an entire other master's degree practically, which again, they're getting deep expertise. And the people who've completed that level of training have a bigger toolbox of sort of directives or interventions that they can bring in that maybe someone with just a mental health background does not. But, especially when you pair your mental health background with your own experience of music, or whether that's as a musician or just an aficionado, then I think there's a lot that you can do. So I just, have interesting mixed feelings about sort of, I don't think that therapists, mental health clinicians are outside of their scope of practice to bring in all kinds of therapeutic music interventions. They just can't call themselves a music therapist per se.
It kind of reminds me, I feel in similar ways about art therapy, right? And a lot of clients will ask me about that. And I'm like, listen, babe, I ain't no artiste. I'll tell you what, I can't draw for nothing. And then I think of Caitlin King, our wonderful resident art therapist, and her putting a, directive in front of me. And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, just roll with it. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to do this. And so, doing that with her and hearing her experiences, I'm now more inclined to bring in some kind of art directive, but I'm knowing that I'm not providing art therapy. Right. It's more of just like, I can bring in this intervention because I know within the scope of that intervention, I know that I'm not like, and now I'm calling myself an art therapist. Right. Like, no, honey, that's a whole training. And again, another can of worms that's like really dedicated, and you'll have a robust toolbox. But I agree. I think there is like some like middle room for us to hang out in. There's middle ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we start exploring music therapy if we're interested? Again, you do not have to be musical. Music therapy is legit not your high school talent show where you're in there and you have to audition and do all this crazy shit. Like, it's just not that way. So if you would like to start with someone, if it feels, again, like that piece is super important for you to find a board certified music therapist, totally do that. Poke around online. American Music Therapy Association has a directory, so you can go straight to that website. We'll link that in the show notes. But starting with what already resonates, I think, is probably the very, very best place to start. So do you have that playlist that tracks your emotional arc? And what is it like to kind of wave through that playlist and see what's there? Are you creating? I love doing this. I'll have clients, if we're doing parts work, what are some songs or genres or albums that connect to specific inner parts of yourself or phases of your life, if that's more challenging. So I know when I'm listening to Needy by Ariana Grande, I'm in college and I'm 19 and it's winter and I know exactly where I am. And so, and I'm scared for her. I'm scared to be 19 and it be winter. Like, damn. So, and then also using rhythm for grounding. So again, like, am I listening to a specific instrument, or when I need grounding, I love looking up a frequency. Sue me. I'm just like the other girls. I love sitting with a frequency and just feel it kind of like boinging around in my brain. I'm like, yes. And then if you need more like structured experiences, go get a journal. Don't buy one. There's one in your cupboard that you aren't using. So go get that one. I know. I'm sorry. I know. It's self-directed too. What goes around comes around. Grab that and think of your favorite song, or the song that you can't get out of your head right now, or a song that fucking devastates you, and look at the lyrics and like annotate that. Go line for line. Do your own rap genius, like whatever, right? Like, what does it mean for you to be connected with something, and let that inherently be your own experience? Guided imagery with music. So again, put on a soundtrack and kind of guide yourself through an experience. What is that like? Drumming or body percussion. You can make music with your body if you did not know. And so seeing what that's like. Or if the songwriting piece is interesting for you, but you're like, what the fuck? I don't know where to start. There are templates, baby. Go use AI. Say thank you and just be mindful of it. But or, literally Google songwriting templates. You're going to find something, or start with some old poetry that you wrote, or anything. Like, you don't have to build this whole thing out of it immediately. This is nervous system support. This is literally not a performance. And I think that's where people get the most wrapped up with this part, because there's the word music in front of the therapy, where it has to be this thing. I do music therapy every day because I'm someone that loves music and I listen to a lot of it. And that's all that it has to be for me. And like, that's fine. And that can be that way for you too. So, start thinking about how you can implement this stuff if you are in therapy, if you're not in therapy, and what can be helpful about some of those interventions that you can do with yourself. But if you're already in therapy and you want to try to check in with your therapist and see maybe where they fall, ask if your therapist integrates music-based interventions, or what would it be like for me to do a lyrical analysis And then for me to bring that into my next session and for me and my therapist to just talk about it. And I think most therapists would easily entertain anything in the realm where they know that you're connecting with yourself and self-reflecting in between your session times. So it can never hurt to ask, ever. It can never hurt to ask.
Yes.
Why not?
But for real, music therapy or the therapeutic use of music can remind us that healing is not linear, not even necessarily language-based, that sometimes your body needs that rhythm in order to break through to the revelation. Sometimes a song can say the thing that you can't with your own words. And sometimes the most profound emotional breakthroughs are not spoken. They might be hummed or strummed or cried through or danced out. Your healing does not have to be eloquent or artistic. It just has to be yours.
Boom.
Boom.
Hell yeah.
And now, our musical segment. Now that's what I call Okay, where Emerson and I each share a song with each other each week as representatives of our respective generations. We tell you a little bit about the song or artist, and then we press pause, we share the song with each other, and then we come back for our live reactions. And we're capturing it all on a Spotify playlist linked in the show notes for you.
So this week, I just wanted to give the broad prompting of any song that is therapeutic to you. So Valerie, what's your therapeutic song for the week?
Oh my God. I'm so excited to share this one with you because I'm guessing you probably haven't heard of Joanna Newsom.
I know the name, but why?
Well, she's this little woodland fairy from the PNW. And you cannot find her on Spotify. She never went on there. She was like one of the few like forever holdouts from Spotify. So listeners, you're going to have to find this one on YouTube. I know she is on Tidal. I'm not sure about Apple Music. She is this like ethereal being who sings. She has this insanely unique voice. She plays the harp, the harpsichord, some other crazy instruments. And then she went and married Andy Samberg, which is like the most bizarre
that's what it
coupling.
was. That's why I know her, because of him. I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
I love them because they like both have a deep appreciation for each other's art. Even if she doesn't seem like it, she, is a goofball too. And her voice has evolved some over the years. I think she had like nodules or whatever. But I'll never forget because I found her when she first came out in the early 2000s. And I mean, the songs on her first album, Milk Eyed Mender, they will wake you the fuck up because her voice it is a very particular sound. I'll never forget. I was like reading some Amazon review of that album, and it was one of the people reviewing it said her voice sounds like two rats fighting inside a balloon. It has smoothed out a little bit in the ensuing years. Wikipedia says that her musical style is often labeled as progressive folk, chamber folk, indie folk, or Baroque pop, which I just love.
Oh.
As a child, she was not allowed, and mind you, she was born in 82, so she's only a few years older than me. She was not allowed to watch TV or listen to the radio. Her parents, she would describe as these like idealists, hoping they could protect us from bad influences like violent movies and things. So this song that I chose off of her 2010 album, Have One on Me, which was either 2 or 3, I want to say it was 3 discs. It was just, she just breaks the mold. Oh my God. She's just like, hey, you want a 17-minute song? I'm going to record one. So she just breaks the fucking mold in every way. But this particular song is just like, it's a great breakup song, and it will like both tear your heart out and like stitch it back up together. I played this song for a client. We listened to the entire like 6-minute song in session a few years ago, who was going through this really shattering breakup. And I mean, she just wept and I was crying, and it was just so powerful. So I had to play this song here. And it's called Does Not Suffice by Joanna Newsom.
Like, I'm imagining going through the worst breakup of your life.
Right?
And you're just sitting there like listening to that. Oh my God, the devastation.
Yeah.
She has such an interesting voice. There's are you familiar with Duffy?
Yeah.
She had So she's Welsh. So like we all like my family, we were always like, what the heck? So like she went really big everywhere for Mercy, right? Like that got really big for her. But there are certain other songs that she has. I feel like they share like a similar kind of vocal profile. And I just love Duffy. I wish she would have made music forever. So I could hear that in there. And I was like, that's really cool. All just devastating. My heart is like, oh my God. But it's good. But it's like a good kind of like, I don't know. It's like one of those like devastatingly good.
Like you feel seen, like you.
Oh yeah,
man. Oh my God. What is your track?
So I'm kind of switching it up a little bit. We're kind of going devastating, but like angry. So this song is 29 by Demi Lovato. You may have heard this. I feel like it was pretty big. So this is from her 8th studio album released in 2022. I think this was her Holy Fuck album. Yeah. So 29 went major viral on the internet, TikTok, of course, kind of as a soundtrack for those sharing their stories with abuse and grooming with like inappropriate age gaps. So this song is speculated to be about Demi's ex, lol, but Wilmer Valderrama, who was 29 when he met Demi Lovato when she was 17. And so I believe they dated from 2010 to 2016. And in the song, we kind of think she's like throws a hint at, the whole song is kind of just the hint at this inappropriate relationship that she's now thinking back on. But kind of towards Wilmer Valderrama's now wife, Amanda Pacheco. Calling out their 12-year age gap. So in the song, she says, I see you're quite the collector. You're 12 years her elder. Ooh. And so she talks about this song was like deeply reflective for her, highlighting her growth over the years and speaking from a place of healed maturity, understanding, for her younger self that was kind of in this relationship. So I love recommending this song to clients where like this suits some of their story. It is a great, like, let's turn this all the way up in the car and just hear it. So I'm excited for you to hear it if you've not heard it.
Ooh, I don't know that I have. A similar theme to Hilary Duff's new song, Mature, too.
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited. Damn, Demi has pipes.
And one thing no one can ever say to that bitch is that she doesn't have pipes, honey. Like, damn.
Yeah, and that is a, shall we say, poignant song. Pointed.
Honey. I know. I came in with this. I came in with Virginia Giuffre. I'm like, fuck abusers. Like, that's actually the title of this episode.
I love it.
Abusers. Welcome to the segment. Wait, what? Where I fill Val in on all of the internet vernacular and lore so that she doesn't end up being an irrelevant elder millennial.
So, is this going to ruin the tour?
Okay, so is this going to ruin the tour? Has recently come onto my radar, courtesy of my 19-year-old sister. Shout out. She's the kids we be talking about. So Justin Timberlake a while back got arrested for a DUI historically. And the cop that arrested him was young and didn't recognize who he was, which is probably a celebrity's worst nightmare when they're having trouble with the law. And so under his breath, he's kind of like, they're going to arrest him and he's going to be in trouble. And he's like, is this going to ruin the tour? And the guy goes, what tour? And he goes, the world tour. Because he's Justin Timberlake. So is this going to ruin the tour? Is the perfect brain rotted meme moment for like the mildest inconvenience. So, oh my gosh, I forgot my lunch at home. Is this going to ruin the tour? So it's just stupid, but my sister has my dad saying it. It's so fucking funny. Like, it's so stupid.
I love it for the mild inconveniences too, because I feel like it gives us an opportunity to sort of like laugh at ourselves and like understand that like whatever this thing is, while it's annoying at the time, is like not a fucking big deal. Like, it's not going to ruin the tour.
It's not going to ruin the fucking tour.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, I'm going to start using it.
I knew you would like that one. Yes.
And now for our last segment of the show, welcome to Fire Dumpster Phoenix. It is rough out there, y'all, and we need all the hope we can get. It's time to go dumpster diving for some positive news and rise from the leftover Happy Meal ashes together.
Just so fucking cute. An English fisherman, David Lyons, of his company, Tackling Minds, is working with the NHS to offer fishing as an option for mental health treatment alongside of or in place of psychiatric medications that mostly help with symptoms of depression and anxiety. Medical workers have recommended 2,300 individuals be, quote, prescribed fishing to help reduce mental health symptoms, and the experience is all taken care of by paid volunteers with Tackling Minds. Each individual is paired with a qualified angling coach that has additional training to work with vulnerable individuals. Fish are caught and returned, community bonds are made, and the impact has reached the king. This organization will be recognized by King Charles in December, and they hope to continue expanding with the NHS across the country through the NHS's social prescribing initiative. So those are just getting people to the museums, getting people out in the parks, getting people in walks and in nature, to help those, suffering with different mental health symptoms, to get connected to the community. And again, and most importantly, getting outside. All of this is grounded, much like our music episode is today, of, getting into something. And so much of the NHS with their social prescribing initiatives is just helping connect people together because we're in lonely times, and helping get people outside. Being outside will drastically improve your mental health. So I just thought that this was really sweet. Above anything, in the article, there's a picture. And I don't know if this is for certain, but I can maybe guess that what an interesting opportunity to kind of approach this with men, AMAB people, and kind of providing this as something. I think of somebody like my dad, who never gets to fish a lot, but really loves it and is totally a form of solitude, and, just something that my dad in his 50s can do and enjoys. And so, what a way to bring men together, and again, I don't think this is predominantly just for men, but I think it's a really interesting approach. And the fact that the NHS is putting money and people behind this because they believe in the social prescribing initiatives is just really cool. And I'm okay, UK, you guys got some stuff, and shout out. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I love the social and nature prescriptions becoming more of a thing. Count on me to be the buzzkill, because why do we have to pierce these fish in the mouths, even if we're going to, and terrify them, even if we're going to put them back. So I would love if fishing, the act of fishing to me is being out on the boat, being in the quiet, being on the water, being maybe by yourself or with your friend, not talking hardly. We don't need to pierce fucking fish in the mouth to do that. So that's my PSA. But okay, so imagine my delight when I go onto the Good News Network and I find on the front page Sergeant Bo, who is a former stray dog here in ye old Nashville, Tennessee, that was rescued off the streets of Florida in 2022, became a certified therapy dog with the Nashville Police Department. Again, complications, police, there's issues there, of course. But this dog, Sergeant Bo, worked with former officer Faye Oakert, and had been working in his line of work, this little dog, for just 3 months when the Covenant School shooting happened, which was a devastating thing for our community, as any school shooting is for any community. So Sergeant Bo was there to comfort kids and families, climbing into the buses, resting with students, just staying until the last family left. And Bo has continued since visiting schools across the community. And Ms. Oakert, who then became an SRO, school resource officer, advocated for a program that trains homeless pets as therapy dogs. So Sergeant Bo was just named the 2025 Hero Dog by the American Humane Society, which is so exciting. So the president of the Humane Society said, During profoundly difficult times, their presence served as a powerful beacon of hope and safety, exactly the qualities this award seeks to recognize. And then earlier this year, poor little Beau tore his ACL, so he has been officially retired, and Faye also retired. So, because she just was like, I can't keep working without Beau by my side. But Beau is still continuing to do little light visits, just not formally working as a service dog. So, love that.
So sweet. That's so cute. Aww. Shout out, Beau.
I know. All right, listeners, go turn on some music now.
Go bump like a good track and go wiggle your body. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been another episode of But For Real, produced by Valerie Martin and Emerson Ryder and edited by Sean Conklin.
But For Real is a Gaia Center production. The Gaia Center offers individual, couples, and group therapy for clients across Tennessee and in person in our Nashville office, as well as coaching for clients worldwide. For show notes or to learn more about our work, visit GaiaCenter.co or find us on Instagram at the Gaia Center and at But For Real Pod.
But For Real is intended for education and entertainment and is not a substitute for mental health treatment.
Also, since we host this podcast primarily as humans rather than clinicians, we are not shy here about sharing our opinions on everything from snacks and movies to politicians and social issues.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode.
See you next time, bestie.